Hi, I'm Fnuggles. It's time to get cozy. Tonight I'm going to tell you about the day I came home to find something very surprising in my little oak tree house, and about a golden-haired girl who turned out to need a friend. If you like these stories, remember to subscribe and press the little bell. The morning was a very normal, very lovely morning. I woke up slowly, the only right way to wake up. My moss bed was soft and warm. My blue blanket was pulled all the way up to my chin. Through my little round window, the sky was pale grey and the trees were full of mist. One of those mornings where everything looks wrapped in cotton wool, soft, still, very quiet. I reached for my honey jar on the shelf and had one careful taste. Warm and sweet and perfectly golden. Ah. Good morning, world. I dressed slowly, the way I always do. Bandana first, blue stripes tied just so around my neck, then my little blue pillow tucked under my arm. Outside, the forest was damp and cool and smelled like last night's rain. Pip, my best friend the rabbit, was already waiting on the path, a small white rabbit with a pink nose and the brightest eyes in the forest. And just behind her, tail wrapped around his paws, was Rusty, my friend the fox. "Good morning," I said to them both. It was a fine morning for a walk. We walked deeper into the forest together. The mist moved between the trees in long, slow drifts. Our paws made almost no sound on the soft moss. A family of deer crossed the path ahead of us, unhurried. An owl, very fat and very sleepy, watched us from a low branch with half-closed eyes. The stream was running high from the rain, chattering over its stones. Everything was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. The forest felt settled and whole. I breathed it all in and out. We stopped at my favorite warm rock and rested for a while, not talking. After a bit, Pip looked up at me. "Hungry?" she asked. I thought about my honey jar at home. A little, I admitted. She grinned her little rabbit grin. We said goodbye slowly, and I turned and began the walk back toward my oak tree. I walked home slowly, thinking about honey, about my cozy chair, wonderful, slightly lopsided, with exactly the right dip in the middle for a bear of my shape, and a slow, thoughtful spoonful of honey. My eyelids felt heavy just thinking about it. Then I turned the last bend. My oak tree came into view, the wide brown trunk, the little round window. I started to smile, and then I stopped. My door was not quite closed, just a crack. But I always close it properly. Always. I walked forward carefully and pushed it open. The honey jar was sitting on the shelf exactly where I had left it, but the lid was off, and there was a small smear of fresh honey on the rim that had not been there when I left. I set my pillow down on the nearest chair. I looked around. Everything looked almost right, but not quite. There was a different smell in the air, warm and faintly like wild flowers. I had never smelled wild flowers inside my home before. My chair had been moved, just slightly, turned toward the window, and there was a very small dent in the cushion that I had not made. I looked toward the curtain across my sleeping corner. It was moving, very, very slightly. I walked toward the curtain, very slowly. I pulled it aside just a little, and there, in my soft moss bed, under my blue striped blanket, with golden curly hair spread out across my pillow, was a little girl, fast asleep, no more than 4 or 5 years old, cheeks pink, eyelashes long, one small fist curled beside her chin. She was holding my little blue pillow tight against her chest. the way I hold it when I need to feel safe. I stood there for a long moment and looked at her. Shh. I did not feel cross. What I felt was something softer, something like worry, and a little like tenderness, and a little like wondering where she had come from. She was far from any village. She must have walked a long way, and she must have been very tired to fall so deeply asleep in a strange house. I let the curtain fall back gently. I went to my chair, still turned toward the window, and I sat down. I could hear her breathing, soft and slow. I decided to wait. I waited. A robin sang outside. The stream talked quietly in the distance. I looked at the honey jar. The lid was still off. She had not taken much, just a small taste. I got up quietly, found a small wooden spoon, and set it beside the jar in case she was hungry when she woke. Then I sat back down, folded my paws in my lap, and breathed, in and out. The morning was very slow. The chair was very soft. Shh. I heard it, a rustling behind the curtain. Then quiet. Then the curtain moved. A pair of green eyes appeared at the edge of it, very wide, blinking into the dim room. They found me immediately. The little girl went completely still. For a long moment we looked at each other. I could see her deciding something. I stayed exactly where I was. I let my face be as warm as I knew how to make it. And I said very quietly, "Good morning. My name is Fnuggles. I am very glad you found somewhere soft to sleep." She stepped out slowly, still holding my little blue pillow. She looked at it in her hands. She had not realized she was holding it, and held it out toward me at once, cheeks going pink. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I took your pillow, and your honey, and your chair." "I know," I said gently. "It is all right." She had bare feet and a pale yellow dress, and her golden hair was everywhere, tangled from sleeping. "Are you a real bear?" she asked. "A very small and not at all frightening one," I said. "My name is Fnuggles." She thought about this. "I'm Lyra," she said at last. "Lyra," I said warmly. "Would you like some honey? I was just about to have a little myself." She came and sat on the edge of my chair. I scooted to one side, and I handed her the wooden spoon and the jar. She dipped it carefully and tasted. Her eyes went wide. "This is the best honey I ever tasted," she said. I agreed. We sat together, sharing the honey jar. Then I asked her gently how she had come to be in my house. She looked down at her bare feet. She had been following a butterfly, she said, a very big, very beautiful one. She had followed it so far that when she looked up, she did not know the way home anymore. "I thought you might have a story like that," I said. She looked up at me. "You know," I said carefully, "you are not the first golden-haired girl to find her way into a bear's house." Her eyes went wide. "There is a very old story," I said, "about a girl with golden curls, just like yours. She walked into a forest house while the bears were out. She tried their porridge. She sat in their chairs. She climbed into the smallest bed and fell fast asleep." Lyra stared at me. "What happened?" she whispered. "The bears came home," I said, "and found her." "Were they angry?" she asked. I shook my head slowly. "The kindest ones never are," I said. When Lyra had finished her honey, I helped her smooth her golden hair and tidy her yellow dress. I took my little blue pillow back and tucked it under my arm. "I will walk you to the edge of the forest," I said. "From there you will see your village." We went out together into the afternoon light. The mist had lifted while she slept. The light between the trees was long and golden, slanting through the branches in warm patches. Lyra walked close beside me, looking up at the tall trees with wide, wondering eyes. We walked slowly. I showed her the fat squirrel family in the beech tree, the old mossy log where hedgehogs sleep in winter, the place in the stream where silver fish dart in the current if you stand very still. She listened carefully, the way children do when something is truly interesting. We crossed a narrow part of the stream on 3 stepping stones. She was very good at it, better than she expected, and the trees began to thin. The forest opened, the ground became grassy, and there, through the last silver birches, I could see the path that led toward the village. Lyra stopped and turned to me. "I'm sorry about the honey," she said. I looked at her. "The honey was very happy to be tasted," I said. "And you are welcome in this forest any time, Lyra. You just have to knock first." She laughed, a small light sound like a handful of bells, and then turned and ran across the open meadow toward home. I watched her go until she was quite small against the grass. Then I turned and walked back into the trees. The long light was shifting toward evening. My little pillow was under my arm. The path was quiet and soft under my paws. I thought about Lyra and her yellow dress and her green eyes, about how a child far from home is a frightened thing. A warm voice and a spoonful of honey cost nothing at all, and yet they can be everything in the world to someone who needs them. My oak tree came into view, its little round window already glowing in the early evening light. I stepped inside. The room smelled the same as always, moss and wood and honey. I put the lid back on the jar. I straightened my chair. I hung up my bandana. I climbed into my soft moss bed and pulled the blanket all the way up to my chin. Through my round window, the first star of the evening appeared in the deep blue sky. Then another. The forest outside grew quiet and still. I breathed with it, in and out. My eyes grew heavy. I thought of golden curls and a laugh like bells. I smiled my softest smile. And I let sleep come. Sweet dreams, little one. And if Fnuggles made you smile tonight, don't forget to subscribe for more cozy bedtime stories. Good night.